Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Kamran Naqvi. I'm Principal Network Architect at Broadcom, based in the UK. And with me, I have my colleague,
Lumir Hannes.
So Lumir is the lead principal architect for AT&T. Lumir is also based in Europe. So both of us especially flew here for this presentation. In our body clock, it's past midnight. So if we start talking about strange thing, it's not because we drank something happy. It's just we are sleepy people. But hopefully it won't happen. We're very excited to be here. And thank you very much for being here for this late afternoon session. And I know many of the folks are also joining us virtually. I received a lot of social media messages. So welcome, everyone, for this session. And I hope that this session will be worth your while. So in terms of agenda, I will kickstart the session by talking about SONiC for enterprise customers. What I am hearing, what we are hearing as some of the challenges that enterprise customers face as they embark on this journey of adopting open source solutions, specifically SONiC. I'll talk about the collaboration that we are doing with AT&T, the partnership we have with AT&T, and the integration work that we have done between SONiC and the AT&T SDDC solution. And you will see how this integration will hopefully help address some of the challenges that we are hearing from enterprise customers. I will then go on and talk about the new management framework that Broadcom has developed for SONiC and contributed back to community. I will then hand over to Lumir, who will talk about the AT&T SDDC service, and we'll also talk about how this integration happened and how it's addressing some of the concerns of the enterprise customer, and hopefully with this solution, they will be on a faster route to adopt open networking at large scale. Okay. So SONiC has been getting a lot of traction recently. Many of the industry analysts have been calling SONiC the Linux of networking. The ecosystem partners, ecosystem of SONiC has been expanding rapidly. The customers who are deploying SONiC in production, they are also increasing. And we at Broadcom see it as validation of our vision. Not just validation of our vision, but the validation of the whole community's vision. Everybody who contributed to SONiC. More recently, you might have noticed, seen this was a prediction from Gartner, where they said that by 2025, 40% of all enterprise who have large data centers, and they define large data center as 200 switches or more, which is most of the enterprises. Gartner says that in the next 4 years, 40% of these enterprise customers will deploy SONiC in production. So as I said, a lot of positive vibe around SONiC, and from Broadcom point of view, we have done a lot of work to make SONiC enterprise class. So when we started working on SONiC, we realized that a lot of features and functionality on SONiC is more focused on mega scalers. And what we did, we not only hardened SONiC, not only we added to the work with the community and added to the the features which community wanted, we also added enabled features like multi-tenancy with VXLAN EVPN. We added features like network address translation, time synchronization. As I mentioned, we added this whole new management framework into SONiC, and I'll show you that in a minute. And you will see with this management framework, it becomes very easy for enterprise customers to use any orchestration solution. You will see there are lots of API options. You don't have to do screen scraping or scripting. This is something which enterprise customers are really scared of when they look at open source solution. So with this management framework, you see there is a lot of capability to make it, to deploy it in an enterprise network. So as I said, when we look at the feature and functionality, we notice, in my view, SONiC today has the features and functionality to run in an enterprise data center environment. But when I talk to enterprise customers, I see that they aspire to adopt disaggregation. They want to get rid of this vendor lock-in, and they want to embark on this open networking journey. But there are challenges, right? The elephant in the room, the biggest challenge has always been lack of enterprise class support, right? In enterprise customer, think about a bank. They do not want to deploy a solution which is not supported. So they definitely want, I mean, it's one thing for a mega scaler to deploy SONiC who have a large software engineering team who can fix bugs for them, not an enterprise customer. So one challenge, support. They want a fully supported solution. Number two, lack of supported orchestration and automation options. Once again, when you look at the mega scalers, they have their in-house built tools. They have mature DevOps models. Enterprise customer want a key turn automation and orchestration solution. There are some options out there, but they are limited, so it becomes another roadblocker. And last but certainly not the least is fear of unknown, right? The lack of in-house expertise. Many of the enterprise customers, their employees, they all have certifications from a certain company, right? They focus on just certain type of vendors. And not only that, the enterprise customers are quite used to relying on the professional services organization of these OEMs. And I know this firsthand because before joining Broadcom, I worked for Cisco for 12 years, Cisco Advanced Services specifically. So I know that the enterprise customers, they rely heavily on the professional services engineers from OEMs, not only for architecture, not only for low-level design, but also for the ongoing optimization of the network. So enterprise customers want to adopt SONiC and open networking, but they want a credible networking company to be able to support them and help them throughout the life cycle. So these are some of the challenges that in my experience enterprise customers face. There is 5 p.m., there is another very interesting presentation by Target who are going to talk about their experience of deploying SONiC. So if you have time, do watch that presentation. And I'm also curious to know about your experience with enterprise customers and what challenges you hear from them. So in terms of AT&T and Broadcom, we have a long history of collaborating on open source and disaggregation related projects. More recently, we worked together on this DCSG and distributed disaggregated chassis project. Both are OCP projects. And through our connections within AT&T, we came to know about SDDC, the organization which Lumi represent. And when we looked at their SDN controller, we were really impressed with the features they had. And we thought, this is a product, this is a solution which can really help enterprise customers adopt SONiC. But there was a lot of integration work required, and Lumir will talk about this. So we worked together with Lumir and the team. We developed this, as I said, this management framework, and we did a lot of development to complete this integration with AT&T SDN controller. And today I'm glad to announce to you that this integration between SONiC and AT&T SDDC is complete. At the heart of this integration is this SONiC management framework. And I'm very glad to tell you that, am I sleepy or you're also seeing that?
It's stable in production.
You need SDDC here, man. It's all right. You can look at me for a minute and yeah. Yeah, so what I was saying, I'm glad that today we have with us Anand, who is not only my esteemed colleague, but he is also the software architect of this whole management framework that we are showing. So Anand, you want to maybe stand and everybody can see you? So well done, Anand. So I'm going to talk about this management framework. You know, if there is something wrong in the management framework, who to blame? Okay. I'm just kidding. He's here to, save me. If there is any difficult question, he's going to answer those questions. So thank you, Anand, for being here. You can see in the management framework, it supports 3 ways of communication when it comes. Is it something I am doing or? Okay. I think in interest of time, I'll just keep talking. You can see it from time and time again. Can you see the 3 boxes on the top?
Yes.
So that's what I'm talking about, right? You can see you can use CLI for configuration, and you can also use REST and GNMI via OC Yang for configuration.
Come on. Yeah. That's it. Right. And you go forward.
Okay. I'm a little scared. Okay. Yeah, please keep looking at it so it's there. Yeah, so I'll talk to you. Right. So internally, the management framework, it does the conversion between OC Yang and the Redis DB schema. There is also if you can see, there is also, can I do that? No. So there is also a config validation mechanism built into it. So before anything is written into Redis DB schema, it is validated as well. For AT&T solution, we focused on the GNMI side. So I'm just going to quickly touch upon that and then hand over to Lumir. So if you look at the GNMI flow, this GNMI client on the top, this is basically the AT&T SDN controller. It acts as the GNMI client. GNMI server runs on the SONiC switch inside SONiC. So any GNMI client call, when it comes in, the corresponding RPC get called. It could be, if you look in the request handler, we support get, set, and subscribe. Whatever is the client call, based on that corresponding RPC gets called, and the request is handed over to what we call this translib infra, the lower 4 layers that you can see, translib data client, transutils, and so on. Now, all of these, they do a lot of things. There is a lot of detail around it, obviously, but in interest of time, I'll just mention that the main job of this translib infra is what I mentioned in the previous slide. Receive OC Yang format and then convert it into the Redis database schema, the schema which is understood by the SONiC applications. So that conversion is happening in this translib infra, and obviously does the reversing for the return communication. So when anything is coming from Redis DB, you understand where I'm going with it, right? It will convert it from Redis DB schema back to OC Yang. There is, as I said, there's a lot of detail here, but I don't want to bore you anymore. So I'll take a pause here. If there is any question regarding this framework, we can get Anand to answer it. So please go ahead. Anand? Yes, please.
I just want to say it's great to start putting a modern northbound onto SONiC, and I congratulate you for taking this because it's pretty complicated, a lot of moving parts. Were you inspired or informed at all by what TailF did with CompD in the old days? Because there's a lot of similarities to some of the architectural elements.
Right. So we used TailF in my previous projects. So it's very similar, but we don't have a single Yang, and from that we generate a CLI. So with the CLI, we have a specific XML format, and we use the IS industry standard CLI format and all that. So, but the northbound interface is always REST or GNMI for us. Even the CLI, when you look at the previous slide, it talks in terms of REST, unlike TailF. So our underlying communication is either REST or GNMI.
If there are any further questions, we can maybe do it at the end. I'll hand over to Lumir for his
Thank you.
Thank you, Anand. Thank you.
Thank you.
So thank you. I would say also, I also love TailF. That was my solution of choice many years ago. So let me talk about my experience. I think I dedicated my professional career to building the data center in the enterprise. I'm doing it like 13 years now. It's kind of frustrating because you build the data center and in 4 years it's gone. So really, what is staying behind? It's kind of funny. I'm happy to be here. It's really great to listen to the hyperscalers' problems. I see some similarities with the enterprise. I see some big differences. Our customers, or hyperscalers are talking about the 400 gig, right? And how to do the optics on the 400 gig. Like my customers are still stuck with the 1 gig and sometimes even 100 meg, right? They don't have so much bandwidth going through the fabric. They basically have a all set of very different problems than these big companies. So to explain, I work in AT&T, network transformation services. Our organization or our department is basically providing the managed service, for the whole enterprise. Data center is part of it, but we are providing the LAN connectivity, wireless, transport, 5G, and others. My job is looking specifically to the software-defined data centers. We have quite a large scale. We're working with a lot of direct customers. We're also working with a lot of system integrators where we are providing the fabric service, basically. So when I started a few years ago, we had hundreds of the data centers, and each of them were very different, and it were very complex to manage, for our people, for our personnel in scale. So we really started during that initiative to standardization, finding the most robust way how to manage the data center, how to make it unbreakable, and standardization helped a lot, but people never followed what very smart guys invented in the labs, right? It's just human nature. So we knew we had to automate it, right? We had to take out the human, element from the equation, and so that's basically what we started doing a few years ago already. There are some kind of, a lot of kind of unique challenges which we have to automate, and today we are running many customers, around the globe. There are challenges like management bandwidth, which we can use to manage the customer. Many times we are actually kind of constrained how much data we can pull from the customer location into our management infrastructure, right? We had to reinvent the management infrastructure because, we are basically all the controllers and all the components which we are deploying are containerized, so we're running a lot of micro Kubernetes deployments, in those DMZs. So it's a kind of, I would say, new type of or different types of challenges than, the hyperscalers has. Also, when I went through my career, like those 13 years, I always see that with every new technology, the complexity of the networks has increased, which makes it really hard for the end users to kind of leverage it. By implementing the micro-segmentation in the enterprise networks, you actually can really increase the management complexity of that network. You can get into the situation where, it's actually you need much more human work to actually operate the environment. And there are particular vendor, who is inventing very complex solutions, how to basically put more intelligence on the fabric, which turns to be kind of a challenging to run in the production. So that's kind of a challenges which I facing on the day-to-day basis. How we are addressing it, and what is our strategy? So we basically created the SDN controller, which runs on the top of the vendor solution. We have various underlying software supported. I'm talking about the fabric here, but we're also doing similar things with the firewalls, load balancers, and other services, and not even only in the data center today. And we have a Cisco ACI solution, which was, I would say, it's something which the customers are asking for often, but we always, or I personally always believed in the open standard, so already 5 years ago, we standardized on the EVPN VXLAN solution. We are trying to find the holy grail of configuration, how to do it in a very similar ways across multiple vendors. We're running a lot of deployments today in production, and we are using various communication protocols with those equipment. We pick up whatever works, and the latest addition to this is actually integration of the SONiC, which we've done with Broadcom's help. So I would just say, the concept is very simple, right? On the southbound side, we are communicating, we are, kind of encapsulating or hiding the complexity of concrete vendor solution. On the northbound side, we found, I would kind of a universal model which represents the basic, atomic operation you want to do on the network. Create VLAN, create VRF, and attach server and similar things. So we kind of abstracted this. This is important for us because automation of the configuration of the devices, it's important, but it's a little part in the enterprise. What we are always striving to do is to automate the processes. So actually, when we have some change on the network in the enterprise world, 10% of the time is spent by typing the commands. 90% of the time is spent by approvals and preparation and just gathering the information which the customer wants from the network, right? So by actually abstracting this complexity, we made it much simpler for the end user to use, and we actually have a self-service where a server team can come and onboard the server, no matter what is the underlying technology, and so that's kind of, really our customers like this.
Hey, Lumir, if you can wrap it up, we're kind of we're pretty much at the end of time.
Yeah, okay. So I will speed up. So in 2020, we started with the SONiC. The solution was kind of seen as unsupportable by our organizations, by our last level supports. They were, there was a lot of CLI commands missing, right? So for a real production support, we had to go and we were working hardly, hand by hand. We added these features, so it was a good. We used the, we used the GNMI as was told. We added the support for the GNMI. Very briefly, what is our automation approach? So we are trying to establish a bidirectional communication with the devices. It's not just about configuration, but it's also about kind of operational state of the network. It's very important. People can see how the network is performing in that moment, can simplify the day-to-day operations. We were using Open Daylight when we started. Later, we migrated to Lighty, which is much easier to run in the containerized world. And we're using GNMI for it. And I will be here if you have any more questions.
So I'll wrap in 30 seconds. So the solution is available today. And hopefully you can see that how this integration of SONiC with AT&T SDDC and how this addition of SONiC with the AT&T SDDC portfolio give enterprise customer an option to adopt an open source based solution which is fully managed and supported by AT&T. There is a link available here which will take you to the GNMI driver of Lighty, which Lumir mentioned. And finally, I made this YouTube channel. It's called Love to Network, and I've got some how-to videos there for SONiC. If you're interested, you can have a look. Thank you very much. You've been a great audience. Have a safe journey back. Thank you very much. Back to you, Mark.